What do you see? Power is always dangerous.
I'm Sadie Guinness, and I'm going to tell you what the just happened in the Vikings season finale. And after you watch this, watch more of our What the videos. Please, I'm begging you. This episode saw Bjorn, Fitzurk, Harold, and King Olaf team up to take back Kattegat from Ivar.
And you're completely sure?
But Ivar had fortified the place so strongly and came up with all of these crazy strategies that made it really hard for Bjorn and all of the non-psychopaths in the battle.
I grew up with many of you.
Fortunately, Bjorn gets away because Ivar's men refuse to shoot him.
Kill him! He's lying!
But his brother Magnus wasn't so lucky. Magnus spent most of the battle hiding out, praying to the Christian God, being kind of a weenie, and then right at the end, when they are all retreating, he's like, no, Odin's with me, I'm a Viking, and like charges forward, and Harold like pulls him back and saves him. And that's when Magnus is like, finally, I feel my true Viking identity. And then R.I.P. Magnus, barely knew you, definitely never cared about you. It was just like a loose thread left over from the Ragnar storyline that you kind of have to tie up before the series ends, so he's dead. Back to characters we actually care about.
When I tell you to kill Bjorn, you kill him!
Ivar is livid that his men refuse to kill Bjorn, and so he like murders a bunch of them in this display of power, and Freydis, still pissed that he killed their infant son, sneaks out of camp and then goes and tells Bjorn and, all of his buddies that there's a secret way into Kattegat.
You have to stop him.
And so they are able to sneak in and like totally dominate the battle.
Enough! Enough!
But Ivar is hurt, betrayed, sad, a psychopathic murderer, and figures out Freydis was the one who let them in.
Are you going to deny it?
No.
And just strangles her. Bjorn and Fitzurk are able to make it into Ivar's chamber. At that point, he's like already dipped. He's on the run, wearing a big hat, incognito, and they weren't able to kill Ivar.
The future foretold.
The episode did a really great job of making it clear that this was not the end of things, and there was still a lot more of up darkness to come. Ahead of the battle, King Olaf shared some very chilling words about Ragnarok, which just so happens to be the title of the finale. So, what is Ragnarok? It is when Chris Hemsworth stops Cate Blanchett from destroying the world.
Enough!
In this case, it's referring to a series of events in Norse mythology that's basically a great big battle that results in the end of the world and the deaths of tons of gods like Loki, Odin, Thor. It is a massacre. And the whole world is basically destroyed. So while this clearly was not like literally Ragnarok, knowing what Ragnarok is and sort of deciphering King Olaf's messages, I think will hint not only at what's to come, but also how to interpret what we just saw. It took me so long to research Ragnarok. During Olaf's speech, he refers to Midgard, which is Earth, and he says it's going to be wrenched by wars for 3 winters. He also says fathers are gonna slaughter sons, brothers are gonna slaughter brothers, and like mothers are gonna like seduce sons, which is one of the most troubling prophecies, because like we definitely did not see that in season 5. That was just what Olaf said. It's like that I could not find anywhere on the internet. It seems so specific that I have to think that there's gonna be incest next season. If Lagertha has sex with any of Ragnar's sons, I will just quit watching. According to the mythology, there is also a version of Ragnarok in which the world resurfaces anew and a surviving man and woman repopulate the planet, and there's like this little possibility of hope. When I spoke to creator Michael Hurst, he did say this is something we're gonna see a bit of in season 6. There's gonna be this little tease of hope, but it's gonna be very tenuous and frail. The final scene really gets deeper into this struggle between destruction and this tiny chance of lightness shining through. After the battle, Lagertha arrives.
Hail King Bjorn.
But when he holds up the sword, he's like transported into this vision, and all of a sudden like the sword is covered in blood and everyone around him is just bloody corpses at his feet. And then jump to another vision and wrapped up in this cozy, what is that called? A cloak? A fur cloak? I don't know, I want it. He's on this mountainside and we hear Ragnar's voice. It's a conversation he and Bjorn had in season 3, right after Ragnar was crowned king of Denmark, in which Bjorn said he wanted the power of a king. Ragnar, who never wanted any power, does everything he can in that moment to warn Bjorn about the pitfalls of it, but Bjorn never really listened, and now here he is, king of Kattegat, with all of this power and seemingly on the precipice of more war and more terror. According to Hearst, this idea of how you handle obstacles is going to be key to Bjorn's journey in season 6, when right away he's going to find out that his idea to be this kind, inclusive, anti-Ivar king is not going to be as easy as he expected. He's going to be faced with some really tough decisions early on next season, and he's probably going to mess up along the way. Yeah, we're just like blazing on through. This is the guy that you thought was Ragnar, Floki. You're probably wondering to yourself right now, where the hell is Floki? So he was still in Iceland for this entire season, and it was just unrelenting tragedy.
This is madness!
Driving him to his lowest point yet when he goes searching for the gods inside this cave in a mountain. But he does not find the gods and finds out that he actually had not discovered Asgard. He sees a metal bowl and a cross. So not only was he not the first person on Iceland, but the people who had come before were Christians, which is like the worst thing that could have happened to Floki in that moment until... So we have no idea whether or not Floki is alive or dead at the moment. Until I see a body, I'm gonna maintain a hope that he's alive because Floki deserves way more respect than a death like that. The only thing I was able to learn about literally anything Floki adjacent is that whatever does happen to Floki has a personal effect on Ube. There's also a really fun theory that Floki not only survives, but he becomes the next seer of Kattegat, which I think would be pretty dope, and so that's kind of what I'm pulling for. We know now that season 6 is going to be the final season of Vikings, and so I found out as much as I could about what to expect of where each of the characters is going before the series wraps. One character we haven't spoken about a lot so far is Ivar.
How dare you say that I am not a god?
And Michael Hurst knows that a lot of you guys do not like Ivar. He is well aware of this, and he promises that Ivar is going to go through some major changes next season.
What?
One of the reasons for this is that Ivar is going to go to Rus. It's a Christian country ruled by a prince who is even more ruthless than Ivar, if you can imagine that. And so this is going to put Ivar in this really interesting situation that, per Hearst, is going to show a more vulnerable side of him.
Wouldn't you rather be loved?
The most interesting thing about this whole upcoming storyline, though, is there's actually a photo of the actors who play Ivar and Fitzurk on set, seemingly together in Rus based on their costumes. And seeing as Fitzurk thinks his fate is to kill Ivar, maybe he tracks him down there, maybe they make up. It'll be really interesting to see where that brother dynamic goes after that major betrayal at the end of this season. Speaking of blah, 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 blah. I hate that name. Speaking of Fitzurk, Hearst does promise that his storyline is going to pay off in some major way that he says fans are definitely not going to see coming. So based off that, I'm going to say he probably isn't going to kill Ivar.
You're famous.
As for Ube, now that he's achieved Ragnar's dream of settling Vikings in East Anglia, he's gonna set off on his own journey after learning about this fabled land that he's determined to do anything, even die, to find on his own. Apparently, this land is west of Iceland. Maybe if Floki is alive, Ube will somehow pick him up along the way and we can get Floki back together with the rest of the cast. Also, there is a photo on the internet featuring the actor who plays Ube with a bald eagle, so I am betting he makes it to North America, which would be completely in line with how Michael Hurst said he always envisioned Vikings ending. After having such an incredibly rough season, Lagertha is actually gonna try and retire and be a farmer again.
This is our dream.
That can't be how Lagertha's story ends. She can't just go be a farmer for 20 episodes. No way. It's also confirmed that Michael Hurst is deep in talks for a potential spin-off to Vikings. He couldn't share any details about what it'd be about, but he did refer to this as Vikings Part 1 and the potential spin-off as Vikings Part 2. And so they're definitely going to be very closely related. He also shared that, unlike Vikings, he is not going to be writing every episode, but instead, the sort of creative oversight is going to be done by Jeb Stewart, who is the man behind the Die Hard franchise.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother. Yippee-ki-yay, mother. Yippee-ki-yay, mother. Yippee-ki-yay, mother.
Interesting choice, exciting choice. I'm kind of ready for I don't know, there's already a lot of action. I didn't know where I was going with that. Of course, the question on every Vikings fan's mind ahead of every season, and maybe even every episode, is who is gonna die next? And I have 4 possible options. The first is Floki. He's old, he's tired, he's lost his wife, his children, his best friend, and now like maybe even his faith. So just give him a good and honorable death and let him go to Valhalla and like reunite with his family and Ragnar. Another big possibility is Ivar, but Hurst loves Ivar, and I can maybe see Ivar's brothers thinking he's dead, but him like being so cunning that he like builds a new life for himself somewhere else. But the only way he would ever be happy leaving his old life behind would be if he killed a certain someone, which leads to option number 3, Lagertha. The seer did tell Lagertha that she was going to die at the hand of one of Ragnar's sons, so the chances we see that next season are extremely high. And then we have to wonder, which son is it going to be? Well, the seer also told Fitzurk that he was going to achieve something that a lot of other people had failed at, but the cost would be too high. If he did kill Lagertha, that would cost him like his relationship with his other brothers. Even if it... I hate this name, Aaron. Even if Fitzurk doesn't kill Lagertha, the historic Fitzurk, according to Wikipedia, was burnt alive at a stake of human remains, which 100% sounds like something we are gonna see in this show. Let us know in the comments below who you think will die next, who you hope to die next, and who you think should be the corpses at the bottom of Fitzurk's stake. I can't say that.